Are some wheels coming off? It's possible. That was definitely something tonight. Hello, everybody. Jonathan Starling here with Beyond the 90, beyondthe90.substack.com with a midweek edition of the third half. Well, we just finished watching Tampa Bay Rowdies 2, Detroit City FC 3. I'll give you my thoughts on this game and kind of where it's trending for both teams here as we go through. A couple of pieces of news, well, really one big piece of news, and ironically enough, transfer news regarding the two teams that were involved tonight. Let's just go ahead and get right to it. So, to me, the big news kind of starting the week came out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, where the Albuquerque City Council took another vote on behest of the appeal of the land use that was passed previously in April, and they voted 8-1 to deny a second appeal, which is excellent news for the New Mexico United Stadium project. I don't think there's many more hurdles to clear before we actually see some dug dirt and building. And, I mean, sometimes you just got to play the long game, and that's what New Mexico United has done here. They have, I think, done everything they possibly could with regards to getting and being reasonable. And realistically, shouldn't be too much longer now, I believe, before things get built. Some transfer news, again, as like I mentioned, both involving Tampa Bay and Detroit City. The Tampa Bay Rowdies, and we had kind of heard rumblings that the Rowdies at least had gotten one deal in the paperwork submitted prior to last Thursday's deadline. Just mums was the word about who this player was, and we found out this week that it was Ryan Spalding coming back to the Rowdies yet again from the New England Revolution. I mean, quite frankly, it seems like the only reason why this deal was held up was to basically find out how much the Revolution were going to pay a Spalding's contract. Even though, I mean, you had Harivu, you had Dennis, and you basically let him go for a cup of coffee and a pack of cigarettes. And so you go bring Spalding in on loan. Okay then. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, he didn't have a bad game tonight until Detroit City started finally marking him with the proper defenders. More on that in a moment. Meanwhile, Detroit City announced that Laurent Kisadou is on loan from a side in the Czech Republic, which name I am not even going to attempt to pronounce. They picked him up on loan for the rest of the year. The registrations have not all been finalized, but it does make me beg this question. If out of market transfers, or I should say out of USL transfers, were supposed to be shut down last Thursday, what is a true realistic time to actually get deals submitted prior to the deadline finalized? And to me, I think we're probably past that line. I think if a deadline is Thursday, if it hasn't been formally announced by the following Monday at close of business, I don't think the deal should be approved, and it should be overturned. But, as the rules state now, you can make these deals as long as the paperwork's submitted. The paperwork was submitted, and we're just finding out about them very fashionably late. One other piece of this one is coaching news. Detroit City FC, speaking of assistant coaches, again, more on that later. Detroit City FC has given Danny Dicchio added an assistant coach for Dicchio, and that is Nick Dasovic. Halfway decent player, and has spent most of his coaching career as basically a reserve or an under 23, under 21 type manager. And when it comes to developing players, I think this is a very good hire to have someone who is used to developing talent on your bench. And honestly, this is a pairing that, with some time, I think it's probably going to work out okay. So with all the little news nuggets out of the way, let's get on to the game tonight. And, well, Tampa Bay, well, you're now 4 without a win. Congratulations. Your hubris is surely paying off here. That's right, Detroit City FC come into town. They are now 4th in the table after picking up their 4th season series victory in the Eastern Conference. This time defeating the Tampa Bay Rowdies 3-2 to win their season series 4-1, 4-3. And for the Tampa Bay Rowdies, they've only completed 2 season series here. They've lost them both so far. Granted, short of hell absolutely hitting 0 degrees Kelvin and them losing to Melatonin FC on Saturday. I'm sorry, Miami, you just put everybody to sleep right now. That's going to be 1 win and 2 losses in the season series, and the one is really one that really doesn't matter. But the 2 that the Rowdies have lost. Last week, they lost to the Loudoun United, and they've lost to Detroit City FC. Loudoun is a team they could very well play in the playoffs. Detroit City FC, a team they could very well play in the playoffs. You know, very much like what happened to the Rowdies last season with the Birmingham Legion. They got swept by the Legion, and they absolutely got whipped behind the woodshed in Mickey Law's last game as Tampa Bay Rowdies manager before they went out and got Robbie Nielsen. There is a hubris right now with this Rowdies side that they just think they can walk on the pitch and beat anybody that they play. Which, when you're actually winning, isn't a bad thing. But the problem is that, I mean, let's just start it from the beginning. You got rid of Charlie Dennis. You got rid of Zach Harivu. Dennis made absolutely no sense. Harivu, you could at least make half an argument for, considering he wasn't really playing much. He was coming off an injury. But if that's the case, why the hell you still got Leo Fernandez back with this club when it's obvious to just about anyone on planet Earth that this team, I don't think, trusts Leo Fernandez to start anymore. I think he has still not 100% from, and this is the opinion of Jonathan Starling, and the opinion of Jonathan Starling may or may not be accurate here. I still think the Tampa Bay Rowdies organization forced Leo Fernandez back on the pitch too early at the end of last season, and he ain't been right since. Because Leo Fernandez should be a much bigger star attraction than a little white flag of surrender substitution, which is exactly what he was tonight. But first thing that I kind of picked up on, and if you were watching on CBS Golasso Network, whether it be on Pluto TV or Roku or through CBS Sports app, and yes, I checked all 3 because I want to make sure that continuity matters here. The cell uplink to the bunker for the satellite distribution was god-awful tonight. Way too many moments of pixelation. Thank goodness they were in basically midfield hell moments where nothing of action really was going on. I mean, it's a common problem we see with the Las Vegas Lights games, but this was taken to a whole nother level. mean, it would only happen for 2 or 3 seconds at a time, but it would happen 2 or 3 seconds at a time way too frequently. Of course, you can say technology, but, I mean, if you're relying on, the old TVU network to uplink to your mainframe, not so sure that's a good idea. Detroit City FC would get this game pretty much off to a flyer. Jordan Farr making an absolute meal off of really what should have been a regulation save from a corner kick. Cheated way too close to the near post. And Devin Amu-Mensah decided to go thank you very much and basically just put a redirecting head flick to the far post. A great ball in from Brett Levis. Guillen was pretty much bodied out of the play. And Detroit City FC, it was the perfect start. Like I have been saying here for a while, you want to beat the Rowdies, you punch them in the throat in the first 15 minutes. I'd say that was a pretty good right hook to start the game. And then matters kind of got worse for the Rowdies a few minutes later when Aaron Guillen looked like he popped a hammy. And look, say what you will about Aaron Guillen. If Aaron Guillen is staying down and he is basically going, I got to go, and is handing the captain's armband immediately to Lewis Hilton upon getting up, he's hurt. And this ain't going to be no 1 or 2 week nickel either. This is probably going to see him out, if I had to guess. And granted, I'm recording this I literally hit record about 3 minutes after full time. I would not be surprised if we saw Aaron Guillen again until October. And maybe mid-October. But another youngin', Zane Bubb, came on to replace him. And then we got the Ryan Spalding show. And basically the first half, the pattern pretty much became get the ball to Spalding, let him get the ball in, let's win a corner kick, and then absolutely blow it. And that was pretty much the pattern until 35th minute. Now, granted, Spalding did win this corner. And this time, the ball got placed right to the edge, the central 6-yard box, and Zane Bubb gets over Stephen Carroll and Connor Rutz to make it 1-1. And it's funny because with the way that the field was tilted the entire first half, the fact that it took until the 32nd minute to equalize was head-scratching? Yeah, head-scratching is probably the best word to use because the Rowdies could have had this game well and truly out of sight by minute 30. Definitely by halftime. The 41st minute would again see another Ryan Spalding special. This time, his shot would literally rebound right off the far post and basically right back towards him. Couldn't control it, and it was eventually cleared. And then something that happened in really, really quick succession were 2 yellow cards to both Detroit City center backs, Devin Amu-Mensah and Stephen Carroll. And, this literally was right before halftime. And the one thing that I absolutely did not get from the Rowdies is why did they not make a go at trying to get one of them sent off? Because going into halftime, you had 4 players for Detroit City on a booking, both center backs, Connor Rutz and Rise Williams. The only player on a booking who gets sent off, who gets replaced to start the second half, is Connor Rutz. And Abdou Diop came on for him. Bryant came on for Sheldon. And Villanueva replaced Levis. So basically they replaced both outside backs. And basically the entire wing that was responsible for covering Spalding. And that paid immediate dividends. Detroit City FC looked a lot more comfortable on and off the ball. And just before the hour, Detroit City FC deservedly took the start. Now, deservedly, depending based on the way the second half started and the fact that it was only 1-1, deserved to take the 2-1 lead. And the only way I can describe this is ping pong, where Jordan Farr fails to fall on the ball, instead basically gives it a love tap right to Ben Morris, who basically has an empty net, and you give Ben Morris an empty net, 99.5 times out of 100, he's going to find the back of the net. And again, first 15 minutes of the second half, Detroit City punches the Rowdies right in the throat. And then from there, the Rowdies just couldn't do much again. A lot of balls over. Now, the moment of the match came in the 64th minute. And it was kind of a couple of moments rolled into one here. The Rowdies finally had a good string of passes together. Rotated, switched the field very well. Worth, being selfless, gets the ball over to Niang Bayari, and he has the angle. He's practically unmarked. Saldana wasn't really in position. The near post was basically screaming, "Hit me, hit me, hit me." And Pacific goes, "Missa, missa, missa." It should have been 2-2 at that point. But what happened after this was a little eye-opening, a little revealing. Because the best player on the pitch, to me, for the Rowdies up until that point, Nate Worth, was subbed off. And look, I get it. He's a kid. You gotta manage his minutes to some degree. But that wasn't the one. He put in a good shift. He's slowly working his way into full 90-minute minutes. Put in a good 65-minute shift. Congratulations. I have no qualms with how Nate Worth played tonight. It was when they brought in Damian Rivera for Cal Jennings. I pretty much went, And I kind of went, As soon as I saw the look Jennings gave Robbie Nielsen, it was one of those, if looks could kill, how dare you replace me for him type of looks. And yeah, I could be reading too much into body language, but nah, I don't think I am on this one. Jennings was livid. He was replaced in this moment. And I don't think the conversation that was on the touchline was a, good game, thanks. It was a, why the hell, and this is what I think is best for the team in this moment. No. Now, Detroit City, a few minutes later, could have made it 3-1 at that point. First time in the night, Ben Morris gets unmarked inside the penalty area. Perfect cross into him. Morris just, honestly, I think he was like, wait a minute, I'm this wide open, I've got time. And he basically got a little too impatient, headed the ball right in the ground over the bar. I honestly thought that was kind of one of those misses that was going to be the catalyst for the game turning around in the Rowdies' favor. Rowdies, another free kick, set piece opportunity. That's the one place you can get this Detroit City side. Set pieces and corners. Arteaga on that one just couldn't find the target, and he wasn't even close. And I'm sorry, Tampa Bay Rowdies Homer broadcast. That free kick from Arteaga was nowhere close to the near post, despite your attempts to try and convince the audience otherwise. And then, the shocker of all shocks, Detroit City FC takes a corner kick from the Rowdies, clear it, counter, and make it 3-1. I think it may be their first, I want to call it perfect set-piece defense, because they caught the Rowdies completely on an island. And even with some time to slow it up in the midfield, Kleeman and Cristomo were absolutely whipped. And then to make matters worse, Kleeman and Farr basically falling on top of each other. One not knowing what the other's doing. And it's an easy finish. And at that point, it pretty much was the white flag of surrender. You bring Lewis Hilton, you bring Kleeman off. Guess you got to rest them for Miami FC. And they bring on Leo Fernandez and Mustali, who, yet again, another youngin', barely old enough to drive. And they go to a 4-2-4 formation. I mean, these are tactics you use in the playoffs when it's a one-and-done situation. And I hate to say it this way, it also is the type of desperation, type of substitution setup and change in tactics that you use when you know that the tiebreak in regards to not only the season series, but potentially interconference points per game are on the line. And despite that, really the next good chance for the Rowdies came in the 90th. Leo Fernandez took a good ball from Niang Biari and put it just over. And then 3 minutes later, Rivera basically proved why he was on the pitch. Good run, kind of parallel to the edge of the penalty area. Got the entire Detroit City defense to collapse on him. Arteaga is basically left wide open. Rise Williams late tracking back. 3-2. And, well, you would think there may have been a tiny sliver of hope. There wasn't. Detroit City FC, was it blatant stalling? Maybe. I think they could have added an extra minute on top of the extra minute that they added to the 9 that was given. But when Nicky Law decides he wants to be a moron on the bench to the point where the fourth official is basically calling the referee over and is literally going straight to the back pocket for the red card, I think the referee, you lose a lot of the referee's goodwill there. And the fact that Nicky Law then took a meandering few extra seconds to exit stage right. But Detroit City FC holds on from there, picks up the 3-2 win again. Wins the season series. Detroit City, 10th win of the year. But more importantly, at the moment, are now 4th in the table, only 3 points behind the Rowdies. And again, they hold that season series tiebreaker. Granted, like I said, if the Rowdies lose to Miami FC this weekend, it will be full-blown crisis time. I don't expect it to happen. Which, of course, means watch Miami FC decide to prove me an idiot. And Detroit City FC have FC Tulsa, who are in that bottom of the Western Conference quagmire, and the good news for Detroit City is they're going back to Keyworth. And the Rowdies, there's nothing positive really to say. Detroit City, I will give them credit because they withstood a first half barrage that most teams would have collapsed under. I will credit Danny Dicchio for making the right substitutions at halftime. I thought Robbie Nielsen was way too reactive in his substitution pattern. And that's when you get results like this. I mean, the Rowdies, I think they thought they were safe in third place. I don't think they're as safe anymore with Detroit City, catching a little bit of form. They have been in form in conference. And just eyeballing this as quickly as I can, I believe they have the 4th best points per game in conference right now. Better than Indy, better than the Rowdies. The only ones who I see that would be above them are the Battery and Lou City. Yeah, so they're the 3rd best points per game in conference. So, I mean, Detroit City still has 4 games against the West. They're only averaging a point per game against Western Conference opposition. But, again, they play Tulsa at home, who basically gave away their best player. I mean, they could very well get a 6-point week here. And as they've been playing catch-up in number of games, we now basically have, I think, a legitimate fight for positions 3 through 6 in the table. And, I mean, for the longest time, I thought the Rowdies may finish 3rd. I mean, are they going to finish 6th? Maybe not. Probably not. I think the Legion, if there was a team in this little bit of a quagmire with the way they have played against the East, could easily slide down the table. Indy 11 is always going to be thereabouts. I mean, but the reality is we could very well see Tampa, Detroit City again, but this time in the playoffs at Keyworth instead of at Al Lang, which I understand midweek attendances are not the greatest. All I'm going to say about this attendance, considering Rowdy's history, is ouchie wawa. It was surprisingly low on a day where, I mean, I'm 3 hours north, and I got 2 inches of rain. It looked like a typical Florida night in Tampa with maybe a sprinkle or two. And like I said, I understand midweek games are tough, but this one was not a good number, no matter how you slice it, for the Tampa Bay Rowdies. But again, four without a win, which just, for a club that likes to think that they're on top of things, have made some strange, baffling moves. They have gotten, they've gotten rid of a lot of very key pieces. Detroit, and, we talk about the 4 without a win for the Rowdies. We got to talk about Detroit City here. Because, granted, a lot of draws in this mix, but their last loss came against Sac Republic. That's 6 unbeaten. Or 6 without a loss for Detroit City. So, I mean, on form, kind of makes sense that this ended up being the result. But enough of my yammering tonight. Again, thanks for tuning in here on this midweek special of the third half. Covering this Detroit City, Tampa Bay Rowdies game. Obviously, thoughts for the paid subscribers in the comment section. Love to hear you. Love to hear what you have to say about this game and about the other news from this week. And until my column on Monday, I'm Jonathan Starling. Beyond90.substack.com. Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks again for your readership of the site. And until Monday, Have a good rest of the week and weekend, everybody.